I would like to call the February 25th, 2016 regularly scheduled meeting of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District meeting to order. We're going to do a verbal roll call. Mr. Bartholomew?
Here.
Mr. Black's here. Mr. Juneau?
Here.
Mr. Lapine? Here. Mr. Russo?
Here.
Mr. Burt?
Here.
Ms. Sullivan Trufant?
Here.
We have Mr. Edgecombe and Mr. Cole Williams is absent. If you would, please stand. Reverend Giles can lead us in the prayer.
Let us pray. Our Father, thank you as always for blessing and keeping us. We thank you, dear Master, for all you do in and through our lives. And even as we come right now, we pray for a spirit of unity, peace, and understanding. We ask you, Lord God, to continue to bless this council and this administration, and thank you for those who've come from far and near to share on this day. Now we do pray for the strength of Plaquemine Parish government. We pray for our employees, our dedicated employees, and we pray, dear Father, that you would help us to make great decisions as it relates to the betterment of Plaquemine Parish government. Continue to lead us and guide us in your way. Give us your wisdom, your knowledge, and your understanding. Then, dear Master, give us the strength and understanding to follow your directives. We pray for our president, Mr. Amos Cormier, even right now. We pray for our council members in the various districts they represent. And we continue, Lord God, to give your name praise, honor, and glory, which is rightfully thine. It's in Jesus' wonderful name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. Please stay standing for the pledge, Mr. Burt.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We don't have an executive session today, so I'll move to item number 3, status report by the Executive Board Director. General Sanders.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, and members of the audience. I am Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District. It follows is my Executive Director's report for the reporting period 11 through 25 February. During this time frame, our Baton Rouge consultant, Mr. Eric Sundstrom, arranged a meeting with Dr. Sean Wilson. He is the newly placed Secretary of Louisiana Department of Transportation. With me was John Pennison, obviously Mr. Sundstrom, board members Ms. Trufant and Mr. John Bartholomew. We also had with us Representative Chris Leopold. During this meeting, we gave the new secretary, we discussed the port's strategic vision and our action plan to accomplish that vision, and Dr. Wilson illustrated areas that he could assist. I would like to open this up to Ms. Salvant and Mr. Bartholomew if they would like to comment on the meeting that we had. Ms. Salvant?
Yes, I would just like to comment and maybe give kudos to Mr. Sanders, who I thought did an excellent job in presenting our parish and the vision of the port to Mr. Sean Wilson, I think his name was. And I was elated. I thought he did a very good job in his presentation, and I think the guy received your presentation very well. I thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Well, we are able to get some ideas of how to pursue funding for our projects from the Secretary. And he was very instrumental in giving us an outlook of how, even though the state is in a crisis as far as money is concerned, but there is also a hope that we possibly can get some funding throughout the project that he had mentioned at that time. So that's very hopeful. And I think that's we're on the minds of the people in the State Department of Transportation. And I think once we do that, that means we have an inside track, more or less, with being considered for any funding in the very near future.
Very good point. We also continue our meetings regarding Baptiste Colette in our efforts and our path forward. We are tapping into not only PABI, but GNO and LED. They are helping us, assisting us in a track going after what we might call big, large oil and gas companies that may be attracted to locating in the using Baptiste Colette in the Venice Port Complex. This morning I spoke with David St. Marie. He is arranging a meeting which will probably be in the April-May timeframe, returning back up to Washington, D.C. regarding the efforts that we have made towards getting Baptiste Colette dredged. We met with Mr. Don Pearson, the new Secretary of Louisiana Economic Development, along with members of our consultant team, Team Trident. Prior to our meeting with Enbridge Energy from Canada, Mr. Pearson stated that he was standing by to support our efforts, particularly if the firm was deciding between Louisiana and the Texas locations. So he has given full support, which does not mean money, but full support. So we'll see if the money comes if we get into competition. We spent two pretty intensive days with our consultant Trident, meeting with potential clients that are covered by NDAs. Also, we spent a full day with a firm that is interested in partnering with the port regarding the mode of transportation that has been referred to as container on barge. This is not a new concept. It's been around for a long time by the Maritime Administration, but it is a concept that has really never been able to take root, and the main thing is because of the continuing service of cargo. So we're looking to crack that code if we can bring it to a critical head, but it is an ongoing negotiation with this firm. Mr. Chairman, subject to your questions, questions of the board, or from the audience, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Director. I don't really have any questions for you. I'll open it up for questions in a second. I just want to add a couple things. I want to thank Mr. Bob Gelpy from IT for getting that Z Drive together for us. All council members are now privy to go to the Z Drive and see all correspondence related to the port. We have different share folders. So in the effort for transparency, that has been set up, and you guys and your assistants all have access to that system. Also, the Vice Chair, Mr. Burt, and I will be in attendance at the Ports Association of Louisiana annual conference next Thursday. Governor Edwards and Colonel Hanson for the Corps of Engineers will be the keynote speakers. So we hope to get some good information and be able to get some face time with those two individuals that can help this parish and this port, I think, tremendously. That's all I have. I'll open it up to anybody else who has any questions for the Director. John?
Well, I guess I'll be attending that meeting as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
But Charlie and I talked about that.
All right.
So that's
Well,
been
good.
on the committee, so we'll have a committee members there.
I don't have anything else. If anybody has anything from the table, we'll move to number 4, bids and advertisements. There are none. Introductions of ordinance and resolutions.
Have none.
I have none.
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 We'll move to 6A. I don't believe we have any ordinance or public hearings pursuant to Article 6. Therefore, we'll move to 6B. Mr. Burt.
That item will be deferred today.
We'll move to number 7, new business. We have no new business, no introductions or resolutions. Warrant suspension is being sought. We'll move to Section 8, approval of the February 11, 2016 minutes.
Offer.
I'll second.
Councilmember, oh, sorry.
I'll go, you go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Councilmember Bartholomew?
Yes.
Councilmember Black?
Yes.
Councilmember Juneau?
Yes.
Councilmember Lapine? Yes. Councilmember Roussel?
Yes.
Councilmember Burt?
Yes.
And Councilmember Trufant Salvant.
Yes.
And the minutes are passed 7-0.
With that, I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
District 1?
Yeah, adjourn.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3? Yes. District 4? District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
We'll call the regular council meeting for February 25th, 2016 to order. The machine, well, there is no machine. Ms. Toots, will you call for roll call?
District 1,
Yes?
District 2, District 3,
Yes.
District 4, District 5,
Yes.
District 6.
Yes.
And District 7.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Let the record reflect there are 7 sitting councilmen, 2 are absent, District 8 and District 9.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Bartholomew?
I'd like to acknowledge in our presence today the distinguished senior citizens from the East Bank community of Phoenix to Point Lahatch area, to have them stand and be recognized. Would you please stand, senior citizen? Be recognized. They're here diligently and they work hard just to recognize them. With that said, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to that item.
Yes, sir. 6M? Ms. Barber, will you read 6M?
As soon as I can get the microphone on.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Maintenance Department, Davant Percy Griffin Center, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
You're offering with changes, Mr. Bartholomew?
Yes, after consulting with the engineering department, I need to change it to 5,500.
Okay, so on line 12, scratch out 1,000, put 5,500?
Right.
And on line 17?
18.
18, I'm sorry. 55.
17 and 18.
Okay.
55.
And with those changes you'll offer?
Do offer.
I'll second. Any questions from the table? Administration?
The money is involved to prepare a ramp so the senior citizen van can go underneath the building instead of having them to wait in inclement weather to get into the building. I think this is the only center that we built that didn't have access underneath the building to the building. All the others I know that have access for the senior citizen to come into the building underneath rather than just parking in the parking lot. And that's what this is about, and it's coming from Highway 15 budget, the little money we have in there, so that it's not stringent on the general budget at all.
Mr. Bartholomew, where will the ramp be?
On this side, right next to the parking lot, take one of those parking lot slips.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Administration? No, Mr. Russo, I'm sorry.
My question was, is this going to be a wooden ramp, or is this going to be concrete?
We're proposing a concrete ramp for the center. We may want to put 10 grand in there for you, Mr. John, instead of 55.
Is that what you were doing with the 5.5? You meant 10 instead of 55?
I meant 10 grand.
I can't go that far. I'm looking at 5 and 5, 5, 5, 5.
I mean,
We need 10.
we can try to make it stretch and do a lot of preparation in-house, but 10 grand would be a lot closer to where we need to be.
Okay, Mr. Bartholomew, I'll remove my second.
Go put the 10 in.
We'll insert 10,000 on line 12 and 10,000 on line 17 and 18. With those changes you'll offer, and I'll second.
And
And-
the follow-up question is that, how much money the restriping project has left in it?
Ms.
100
Angie?
and some thousand.
And is that money going to be used anywhere?
I have in the next ordinance coming up, appropriation of 30,000. But we get this out there, then I'll talk about that when it comes up.
That's what I want to get the big picture before I vote on this.
Well, it's on you.
So there's 150,000 in it now?
Highway 15 project's complete? The striping is
Which-
complete?
Yeah,
Which portion?
strike.
Well,
The striping, we have it from all the way from the intersection by Phoenix down to below the courthouse at this point.
I mean, I know we had some constituents from the East Bank complain about it being pretty dark on Highway 15, did that alleviate that problem?
Striping helps.
Did it alleviate the concerns?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Administration, audience? Ms. Toots, will you call a vote?
District 1,
Yes.
2, 3,
Oh, yes. I'll keep-
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
6,
Yes.
and 7.
Yes.
And the ordinance passes 7-0.
There you go, Mr. Bartholomew.
Thank you.
We'll revert back to the agenda.
I will have your ramp built.
Okay. All right, before we start going down the line, I'm going to ask my colleagues to go through the agenda, see what we're going to, if they have any deferrals or withdrawals. Mr. Bartholomew?
Have none.
You have none, thank you. Mr. Black?
Yes, I'm going to defer 6B as in boy,
Okay.
and that's it.
Okay, that's it. 6B, Mr. Juno?
I have none.
None? 6, I have one. 6, C will be deferred. And 6J will be deferred. And that's all I have. Mr. Russo?
Have none.
None. Mr. Burt?
I'm going to defer 3. I'm going to defer 6A1, 6F, and 6O.
6-0. Okay, Ms. Trufant?
I have none.
Thank you. Just to recap those, today, items on the agenda that will be deferred are 6A1, 6B, 6C, 6F, 6J, and 6O. Did I miss anything? Okay. We will skip over it. Shane, we'll skip over executive session. Ready to go. Okay. We'll skip over executive session right now. We have no proclamations. We will move to item 1C, status report by the President. Mr. Cormier?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to open up by thanking God for sparing us with this last inclement weather. It caused destruction throughout the state. I also want to compliment the senior citizens today who were here participating in government. We need to listen to those people. History has all of the answers, and they can help guide this parish, and we need their participation. I'd like to address the national level first. I was fortunate last week to have a personal conversation with Vice President Joe Biden in New Orleans when he made his visit, and it was a lengthy conversation. Evidently, it was so long that I had a call from a reporter with the Waterways Journal asking what was the content of our conversation. We also, during that past week, had a meeting with Colonel Hansen with the Corps, and one of the topics was dredging of South Pass. On the federal level, we have to keep an eye on one particular item. The federal government, with their financial crisis that they're in, is looking at the possibility of Go Mesa. And so we are going to keep an eye on that particular situation, hopefully with our legislative people. On a local level, it's always great to come to Dave Ann Community Center here and see what a gorgeous edifice you have put together. It continue to see progress on the East Bank. We see clearing as we drove down the Dave Ann football field in the back, the lighting, the fencing's gone up at a nice rate. And of course, if you travel across the Point Lahash Ferry on the West Bank side, you'll see the clearing for the parking lot for LNG, which should be coming in 2017, hopefully. Some in-house notes that I'd like to clear up. We want to thank John Pennison with the port for stepping up. The port, as my understanding, will contribute $100 and defray some of the costs of the taping of our meetings today. So we appreciate John's initiative with that. On the reports, the other night I had several calls about a television channel that reported that we had damage on the lower end of the parish. Those were incorrect. We checked with the dispatcher, with the sheriff's office, and we had no calls whatsoever. Clearing up another invalid report that was stated at the last meeting. It was erroneously sent by email that one of the trucks that belonged to the operations department was parked in front of a local business place. There was no parish truck, operations, or any other administrative truck parked in front of that place. It was a truck with a Plaquemines Parish decal, and it belonged to Severn Trent. Now, in checking with Severn Trent, they were doing work in the back of the building. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that so that we would not have any morale problems, in other words, with our workers in the parish. On the civil service side, concerning the budget, I went to the civil service yesterday, and my object was to go to civil service and provide some options for the council and the administration to work together in anticipation of the possibility, and notice I said the possibility of some adjustments with salaries. Nothing is in concrete, but we just wanted to get everything out in the open to try and provide as much information as possible to everyone concerned so that we could make some good decisions working with the council. There are 4 areas with civil service that we could go in one of those directions. The first one would be the drop program, to eliminate people in the drop program. That would probably cause a civil action suit of something against the parish if we went in that direction. And again, I'm not proposing any one of these. I'm just trying to give you the pros and the cons. The second one would be on a performance base. If you go back and check the evaluations, not only this past year, but for the last 4 years or 5 years going back, the evaluations were pretty high, and as a result of that, it would be subjective performance that I don't know how many people that would include. The third thing would be a reduced work week. The reduced work week would be the possibility of 4 days a week, 1 day off, and that would be a 16-hour biweekly situation that would affect the workers. Now, the one thing about the reduced work week is that they do not lose their benefits. On all of the others, they will lose their benefits. On a 16-hour reduced position that we would take at 32 hours with the state, Jefferson has a 35-hour, I think, and so we are positioned for 32-hour. That would mean that they would continue to have their hospitalization, their insurance, and their retirement. They would have 3 days off and the possibility of getting another job or going in some other direction, and or either just enjoying a day off. And of course, with today's, I just had some resumes on my desk this morning. People are looking for work all over, so jobs are scarce. The fourth one would be furloughs. You can furlough up to 240 hours for a year. And so those are the options that the council and administration will be working with. The administration will continue to try to streamline and transfer as much as we can and look at those performance records as well. Now notice all of these things, I want to reiterate, are temporary. They're not anything that would go on and on forever. It's just temporary solutions in case that the price of oil continues to go down. If it goes up, then we have no problems whatsoever. And so we want to caution people in how they are addressing the situation, because we really don't want to cause any anxiety or panic among the parish workers. They're very concerned about the rumors and the gossip that goes on. So hopefully we can approach it with, by giving them, the public as well as the administration and council, as much information as possible. There are some other avenues that we can explore that I won't bring up today. I'll just touch base with that with the civil service. Now, whether or not the civil service on the last, and it could be a combination of those, one of those 4. Any one of those 4 could be combined together. So there's a lot of possibilities there. And that would just be to put the civil service in a position with 3 and 4, the options there, to put that in the package so that we would be ready in case we would choose to use those particular items. And with that, concludes my remarks for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cormier. Any questions from the table?
Yeah, I just have one kind of administrative comment. I'm pleased to see that Patrick Harvey was promoted to the position of director. I just want to make sure we did it correctly. I'm not against Mr. Harvey being in that position. I think that position suits him well. He's been the deputy director for quite some time. We had a hiring freeze, and it was a actual promotion. Do we need to do an ordinance to move him into that, to lift the hiring freeze and move him into that position? I just want to make sure we do it correct administratively.
Yeah, we appreciate your comments. We checked with Civil Service, and they raised no red flags about it. He's going to take a cut in pay from the original deal, so we'll be saving $60,000 as the assistant position, and the head position was 72, and he'll come in at 70.
All right, I mean,
Anyone?
legal? I don't have a problem with him being in that position. I just want to make sure we dot the i's and cross the t's on it.
If we're worried about it, it would not hurt us to just pass one and ratify what the president's already done. It's just paper at that point. And so if you're concerned with it, I'll be happy to draft something up to that effect. But the president did rely upon the expertise of the civil service.
That's fine, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mike. Mr. Russo?
I got two questions. To follow up on Mr. Black's comments, so the civil service approves, even though we have a hiring freeze, promotions with pay increases?
As I stated, when we referred to the Civil Service, they had no comments or negative comments pertaining to the move.
So I just want a clarification that, in other words, under our hiring freeze, we can promote with pay increases.
Again, according to Civil Service at the time, we have no other people in that position. The secretary has been eliminated. The assistant was in that position, and the head man had moved on. So as a result of that, I guess Civil Service figured there was we needed somebody in case of a storm situation that we went through.
My concern is not whether we need somebody or, you know, what positions are available. All I just want to know the procedural matter. How are they interpreting our hiring freeze? And I'll just leave it at that with the understanding that our hiring freeze does allow for promotions with pay increases. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I'll be glad to check further into the matter.
Before you move on, Mr. Russo, I would just encourage legal to probably draft an ordinance, and let's do this thing the right way. I don't think it's, and then maybe get a second opinion from, I don't think we even received an opinion from Civil Service. I think what you're saying is they had a no opinion. So I think we should just get an opinion from Civil Service, and in the meantime, just draft an ordinance and make sure we, you know, do the right thing and lift the freeze and promote them and then close it back. That'd be my suggestion, that's all.
And my comment goes this because I'm not looking at one individual or one position. I'm looking at the policy that we are setting as far as how we are going to handle the rest of the workforce. And if that scenario comes up again, and you know, I want to make sure that we're consistent because we've been inconsistent on policies that we have heard from Civil Service during our budget hearings about how we lay off or how we deal with reductions in the pay and so forth. And I haven't got a feel, a comfortable feel on where we really stand with those issues. But I'm going to let that one go and just follow up. My second question is, in light of the four options, and you said that the first option, eliminating those in the drop program, would be probably challenged in court and so forth. Do we have a direction and a timeline on when we will be addressing these issues? Because the way I see the budget now with the $30 a barrel oil and the possible $6 million hole in the budget, we will be mid-year very shortly. And so do we have a timeline as to when we are going to try to implement something before, say, it's too late?
Well, that's exactly why I approached the Civil Service yesterday with the questions that we had and put before them, and they wanted the council's input as they would take further action or make adjustments to whatever their civil service rules apply.
Well, my concern is the funds are not there. We know that, we're at $50 a barrel, and now we're going to be around 30 for the first 2 or 3 months of the year, which, if we look at hindsight of the last 3 months of last year, that carries over into 6 months of this year. So very shortly, we will be approaching that point. And I'm not comfortable with hearing that civil service will change their rules to accommodate different things. I mean, we have to get something firmed up to know what direction is available, and that's why I made the comments earlier about civil service and not getting a clear direction. So, to say that they'll change the rules to accommodate certain things doesn't make me feel any more comfortable about where we're headed with this budget.
Mr. Russo, I was at the Civil Service Commission hearing yesterday, and I pretty much asked a very similar question, because I am against the reduction in work week, because to me it does cut your benefits. You cut 8 hours a week, so you're cutting, in essence, people's salaries 20% across the board. I would prefer going with the performance-based layoffs, where we reduce the workforce based on the lowest performers, and we would still maintain an efficient and effective government, because we're getting rid of folks who are historically inefficient or ineffective. That would not warrant the Civil Service Commission changing rules. So it would happen, obviously, a lot quicker than having the Civil Service change the rules to fit the reduced work week schedule. So I did bring that up to the Commission and asked them to give us their recommendation on how to go about, if we were to decide to do it, the options on the performance-based reduction.
I'll just close my remarks by saying that I think we need to, get a game plan in place pretty soon and make a decision as to which direction we're going to go in based on the alternatives that are available to us.
That's exactly why we brought up the issues today, so that we could discuss them. In regards to Mr. Bo Black's comments about reduction of benefits, it's reduction of a salary, but I'd rather see somebody getting $80 a month as opposed to $100 a month and getting no money a month.
Well, if I have 10 employees, sir, with all due respect, and two of those employees do nothing all day, and I have a civil service system in place that I have historically gave them bad grades, bad evaluations, I would rather have those two employees go look for work in another place, as opposed to punishing all 8 of my employees by taking 20% of their salary. I don't think that's fair to the entire workforce who's doing their job day in and day out to the best of their abilities. So that's my position on it.
And again, not to debate with you, but the idea, and you heard it yesterday, that there were only 4 performers that were below the evaluation.
Right.
So
And
I don't think 4 people is going to put us in the budget.
Well, and I also
situation.
heard that the people who are responsible for doing the evaluations falls under your administration. So I think with your leadership, maybe do the evaluations correctly and not give everybody 5s across the board just because it's your friend or whatever other reason. So I think that's a systemic problem that we have to fix, and it may take a little bit longer to do, but I mean, that was brought up at the Civil Service Commission yesterday as well.
Yeah, it's a systemic problem. If you go back and check for the last 8 years, prior to the other administration, the evaluations were also high. So it's a dilemma that has been faced by government in general throughout with the evaluation process, as well as the school board process that follows a similar plan.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms.
I too attended your civil service meeting, and I disagreed with some of the comments that Mr. Cormier presented. And my issue basically was that what we're doing here now, I thought that's what should have taken place before it it went to the Civil Service Department. That way, you would eliminate the divisiveness, you would have a consideration of a consensus matter of fact, a consensus of the council, and that way you would know what direction you're going in. The divisiveness would go out of the window. But to go in, not have a conversation with the council, maybe like Mr. Bo suggested yesterday, 4 council members at a time, that way you would have a consensus of our position. And that way you would be able to move forward a little bit more effectively than back and forth, back and forth. What we're doing here now, I think should have taken place first. I thank you.
I'm sort of having a difficult time understanding that you can't form a consensus until you find out what options you have. So we had to approach civil service to find out what leeways they would have with amendments toward options 3 and 4.
Mr. Comey, if I remember...
We can't divide or get everybody together and unify them unless we know our options. So that's the only thing we did was go to the civil service and say, what leeway do we have in option 3 and 4? And do we have leeway in option 1 and 2?
If I
And that's the only
remember
purpose of the
correctly,
meeting.
at the meeting yesterday, you stated that you had met with Ellen, you had already met with Ellen, and you had already met with Mr. Scandora, I think it was, prior to that meeting yesterday.
That's correct. We had a meeting and we talked about it, if I'm not mistaken, Monday, with our little weekly meetings. In other words, we have in my office open to all the council members. I don't know if you were there, I can't remember. But when I checked with Ellen, because as I'm being repetitive, in other words, there were certain things that they can't do right now, according to what they have. So when I met with Ellen, I said, what options or leeways do we have that we can try and see so we can go to the council and give them all of the information? And I met with Mr. Scandura, followed the same thing. And I have to say that, you know, they had questions because they don't know exactly what they can do. And when I say that, not in a derogatory way, but in other words, in checking with the state, they've got to ask questions to the state so that they can give us information, because we're on new territory here. This is an economic situation that is unparalleled in Plaquemines Parish history. So, you know, you got to meet and talk with as many people as possible. We will, the administration, be willing to meet with you and everyone on the council anytime you want, with Ellen and with Mr. Scandura, anybody else you want to ask those questions.
Excuse me. I was also at the meeting, and as far as I'm concerned, civil services got our hands tied, and they're going to have to work with the council and the administration. They got a net over us, and they're smothering us. They're going to have to release us and let us know what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Juneau. Anyone else? Well,
you know, my only comment is that, you know, as a government, I look at civil services being just a part of the government, and I think the leadership needs to arise out of this government and give direction to civil service, applying it towards the rules that they believe are legal. And if we need to get legal opinions from whoever, I think that the government should be leading and not civil service be leading.
And that's exactly why we called the meeting yesterday, to find out the information so we can lead.
Thank you, Mr. Anyone else? Anyone from the audience? Thank you, Mr. Cormier. Has there been a request that we move to item 7C? Barbara, will you read 7C?
Discussion regarding the Public Defender's Office, Councilmember Roussel.
Yes. After seeing the publications and the crisis that evolved, and then the temporary fix that came about, I think that it was imperative to put it on the agenda and at least discuss it. And I know that we have Judge Connor in the audience, as well as the ID board members, as far as the attorneys. And I think that it's worthy of some discussion because, as I understand it, the fix is only for a few weeks. And so I'd like to ask someone to come forward.
I don't know if I'm, okay. I met with some of you before. A lot of you don't know me. My name's Matthew Robnett. I'm the District Defender for the 25th Judicial District. With me today is Clark Beljean, our staff attorney, Mandy Bowie, our office manager, Carol Kolenchek, our state board trial level coordinator, as well as Jay Dixon, who is our state public defender. They've come down from Baton Rouge to also address this discussion if you all have any questions. I apologize for not having any prepared remarks other than what I've been talking to people about for the past couple of weeks with phone calls. I didn't realize this was going to be on. I do thank you for bringing this up for discussion today. I'm happy to speak with anyone anytime about it. Basically, the situation we find ourselves in is the funding source for the Public Defender's Office in every district statewide is primarily funded through traffic tickets and court costs. In Plaquemines Parish, that's not sufficient to fund the office. As a result, we get a district assistance fund disbursement from the state at the beginning of each fiscal year. This year, that disbursement was not enough to cover the gap. So as of March 1st, we were going, this is after cutbacks and contract cancellations and things like that. We got to the point where as of March 1st, we were going to have to close the doors. And so we had to furlough myself and Mr. Beljean. We thought it was going to be indefinitely. After discussions with the state, Mr. Dixon and some other members of the staff worked very hard to come up with some emergency fund. Their budget has been severely limited for this year. They were asked to find $400,000 to get back to the state. We were able to secure $30,000 in funding to stay open through the end of March. However, as of March 31st, we're going to be back in the same position if we're not able to locate funding from some source. Obviously, this has an incredible impact not only on the court system itself, but on the community at large. Cases will not be able to proceed if those persons accused do not have counsel. Juvenile cases will not be able to proceed, and they have very strict timelines. I believe myself and Mr. Beljean and the few contracts we have left in our office represent about 80% of the cases in the criminal court system and probably closer to 95% in the juvenile justice system here in Plaquemines Parish. And, you know, that those, if we're not able to keep the doors open, no one's going to be able to represent those people as they're constitutionally entitled, and that's going to put Judge Connor and Judge Clement in a very difficult position where those people, if their cases aren't allowed to move forward, they have to be stayed. People who are incarcerated pretrial, that's a situation that cannot last. Those people will start filing habeas motions, and it's my belief the court's going to be in a position to have to grant the relief, which is release. So that's just one of the issues that comes from this.
The reason that this is on the agenda is because of the discussion that Judge Connor and I had, and I'd like to ask Judge Connor to come forward. He has been concerned about this, and I'm sure he doesn't want his court system to shut down because he's been a little concerned about what might happen.
Well, thank you, Mr. Russell. Again, thank you for at least listening to us today. It's always a pleasure to appear in front of you guys, again, after being part of this for so many years before I became judge. The timing's horrible, and coming up now, where basically the turnip has been about squeezed as you can squeeze it, and we're asking you to squeeze the turnip a little bit more when the size of it is probably down to a peanut. But this is a real problem. It is a problem that's going to be here from March 31st until their new fiscal year of June 31st. And although the first response would be, you know, why should we be concerned or why are we involved in this? This is a state issue. Historically, up until Mr. Robnett taking the role of the public defender, this council has provided funds regularly, yearly, to the PDO. And up until recently, when he took over, he attempted to do that without funding from the PDO, was able to last up until this last fiscal appropriation from the state. So it is not something that the PDO has done in terms of being not frugal with expenses or overspending. It's a matter of the fact that their budgeting from the state just wasn't sufficient to cover them this year. We can solve the problem. We can go forward without your funding, but I want you to know, not only on behalf of myself, but on behalf of Judge Clements, who could not be here. He's in juvenile court. And as you know, the way we work it, generally while one of us is in court, one of us is back in the office, sometimes we're both at court. Rarely are we able to both come to an event at the same time. So I want to let you know that Judge Clement's here in spirit and heart and supports the PDO, along with Charles Ballet, the district attorney, who also had another engagement. But I do believe he sent you a letter outlining his position. But just really briefly, I know you guys have an agenda to take care of. Why this is important to you is because in Plaquemines Parish, one of the things I pride myself on in being part of the judicial and also with the law enforcement, working with them hand in hand, is how safe our community is and how important to us the fact that the safety of our community is there. And a lot of other parishes are envious and jealous of the fact that we do have safe environment. Public defender's job is to represent people who are innocent until proven guilty, and they go through the system, and primarily the bulk of the people they represent are the low-income people that are not privileged enough to form or to have their own attorneys. And while I'm not going to state my position in terms of what could possibly happen, because we don't know yet, we'll do everything in our power, Mr. Robnett's correct. One of the things that could happen, if they don't get funding and they close their doors, by law, I cannot go and hold a court without someone being represented by counsel. Everybody in this room knows that the fundamental nature of the Constitution says you have the right to counsel. And what this would do, this would effectively stall the court system. We would have to back cases up because there's no attorneys, and as we back those cases up, the prosecution then, under the timelines they have to do things, would be under the gun to get these cases tried at a later date and time. In the immediate future, there's a thing called habeas corpus, and that is you can't be held in jail without counsel, and if you file a speedy trial motion, within 45 days they've got to bring you forward to go forward with your case. And of course, when that happens, they're going to do that, and there's going to be no attorney available. And at that point, Judge Clements and I are working hard on that, but we do not have a position at this time to disagree with Mr. Robnett's assessment that one of the remedies may be to release these individuals back into the community. So what does that mean? That means if somebody's arrested and I find probable cause that they have committed a crime, and we put them in jail where they normally would stay pending a hearing if they can't make bond because we deliberately set it high enough for them not to come out, this could thwart all that because we would be forced to release those individuals. So it's a serious problem, and it's one that I want you to know that is really not yours, because primarily the state's responsible, but yet when the buck stops wherever it stops, the effect is not felt at the state level, it's felt in Plaquemines Parish. So that's the reason why we would have wanted to approach you, so none of you would be blindsided or unaware of this problem. So we're asking that the council, I don't have the magic wand for you guys because I know you guys are working hard on this budget. But I think in terms of priority and seriousness of what needs to happen, is I just think you need to look hard to see if there's any way you can provide any additional funding to, if not close that gap, at least to provide some more service for these individuals to stay so we don't run into that problem. So I'm not going to pretend to be a councilman or pretend to know what your budget's like and where money can come from or where it can't come from. If the answer turns out to be no, I've done everything I can with my job on behalf of the judiciary, on behalf of the people of Plaquemines. I can only come and ask. So I just want to bring this problem to your attention and let you guys stew on it and decide, what avenues you think are appropriate to take, and we will go from there. But again, any way I can work with you, I will. But I will tell you when it comes time to it, I will follow the law. I will implement the law. And if the law says people have to be released, they're going to be released. That's all there is to it. And that will be something that's going to hit, a level of uncomfortableness. So that's why I'm bringing it to your attention. I apologize for, dumping this in your lap. And we're here to support Mr. Robnett. And again, anything you guys can do, we certainly appreciate it.
Judge Connor, if I might, first of all, let me congratulate you on the way you represent the robe in our parish. and I've heard nothing but good comments about the way you conduct your court.
Well, thank you.
My
Appreciate
question is, and again, I don't know if I have received the correct information, but after going over the letter from the DA has a diversion program, I think that's throughout the state. And that money that comes from the diversion program is taken from the tickets in our parish. So I'm just wondering if the DA would possibly step up and utilize that diversion money to help out during this particular time. And again, I'm not trying to say that our DA is the only one doing that. That's a state situation. And of course, they do have 5 attorneys in the DA's office. Is it possible to utilize some of those attorneys to represent the people?
For which office? I'm sorry.
The 5 attorneys that are in the DA's office, is it possible to utilize some of those attorneys?
No, sir. That would be an inherent conflict of interest to have your district attorneys switch sides and represent the people that would be prosecuted by the same office.
And as a
That would not
judge, you
work.
can appoint attorneys?
We can, but Judge Clement found a case whereby there may be a snafu with that. There's a case that's up on appeal right now, arguing that simply just hiring or appointing people in the bar from your local bar association to represent may not be sufficient, because you may be appointing somebody who does 100% real estate work to come in and to represent somebody on a serious criminal charge without any experience. And the law says that you don't have the right to counsel, but you also have the, I mean, it does say that, but you have the right to effective counsel. So a lot of people have pitched fits with that. Unfortunately, in Plaquemines Parish, the number of practicing criminal lawyers are very few in comparison to the rest of the bar. So it is something that we would look at, but right now I think our hands are tied on that until we get some sort of answer. Unfortunately, that answer is probably not going to come within the next 90 days. So we're really, really up against the, you know what.
So the only option is diversion, utilizing some of that diversion money?
The prosecutors certainly can exercise skills in doing diversion, but you have to understand a lot of these people we're talking about are people that would not be eligible for diversion and would normally, the majority that I'm concerned about on felony charges would be ones that would be in jail waiting for trial that are deliberately put there by me because I find that they're a danger to let them out back on the street. And that's the ones I'm concerned about. Right now, we've taken steps, myself and Judge Clements, for nonviolent people, to lower bonds to start keeping people out of jail so they don't have to have the requirement of the attorneys. But the requirement of counsel that we're concerned about kicks in if you're holding somebody in jail where they're not out on the street to be released. So those are the ones that are there. 95% of the ones for misdemeanors and lower offenses don't stay in jail to their trial because they make bond and they're out because they're set low. What we're concerned about are the ones that we set high. If they don't have counsel representing them, no matter what the bond is, at some point in time, if I don't get them to trial quick enough, you know, we're concerned about what could happen to those individuals. And it could be, you know, I'm not here to scare people, I'm not here to give people, you know, scenarios, but we're talking about, you know, in my opinion, a real serious situation. So.
Well, Judge, can I follow up?
Yes, sir.
Because we haven't really asked the question, and I'm not sure if Mr. Robinette would be more suitable to answer the question. What type of money are we looking for to get through these next 90 days from March 31st through June 31st, as you mentioned?
I'll let Mr. Robinette, because I asked him to come here today, put him on the spot, because I wanted him to answer these questions. And when I talked to Mr. Robinette, I said, don't give me your normal budget figure, I need the bare bones assessment, so.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Judge, thank you.
Thank you, Judge. And that's an entirely appropriate question, Councilman. We operate right now on a very limited budget. And I brought our profit and loss statement, which is kind of a misnomer because we don't make a profit. And I can hand out that paperwork to the council members, but we're looking at about $26,000 a month, which essentially covers my salary, the staff attorney's salary, Ms. Bowie's salary, and that's under restriction of services. That's not doing what we should be doing. That's doing the best we can right now. That's not hiring contract attorneys in conflict of interest cases that will still be put on a wait list. That's not hiring investigators. That's not hiring experts that we should be doing that could result in ineffective assistance to counsel. So I'd say in the neighborhood of $80,000 to $90,000. And like I want to echo Judge Connor, who I'm very grateful for the support he's given to us in this. I know, obviously, times are tight at the state level and times are very tight at the parish level. It's just we're at a severe crisis point. And like Judge Connor said, this is looking to keep things going as long as we can. I know we may not get into this discussion today, but Mr. Dixon's here today. I have some paperwork some handouts I can give all you after the meeting and provide to your office. The state's going to be in a worse position to help us come July than they were last year. So while I'm don't want to dump any more than we're already putting in front of you out there today, if we can get that funding to get us to July, which would be fantastic for us and for the community, I would like to have this discussion further at some point to let you know how things are going to look after July.
Could we hear from the state? I'd like to know what the game plan is in the legislative session today that your office is promoting so that we may be able to promote some assistance in asking our legislators to support that effort before we have to look for additional funding.
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, let me back up a little bit. We had a board meeting on Tuesday, February 12th, I believe. And on that agenda was an item that would provide funding to your office. What we found out less than 24 hours prior to the meeting was that the state had swept $472,000 from our budget. At that point, we weren't in a position, because it was so quick, we were not in the position to see if there was any money we could give. So at that point, we thought your office was going out. What we did after that is we canceled some contracts, which is going to sound very scary. We canceled contracts for the sex offender assessment panel. And as bad as that sounds, what happens when someone gets out of jail, they have to register as a sex offender for 15 years. These judicial proceedings are to determine whether or not they register for 15 years or life. So you can see there's not really a pressing need to litigate those. So we collapsed those contracts and we provided some funding to last through March. There is now a bill in front of the legislature to cut us another $200,000, which would greatly limit whatever aid we could possibly give to the district. So my first answer would be to call your Congress, call your legislative contingent and say remove us from that bill. Other than that, we don't see any relief coming from the legislature for the remainder of the year. If anything, they seem to be sweeping as much money as they can from state agencies back into the general fund. Unfortunately,
Do you know the number of that bill? House bill or Senate bill?
I can send it to you. As a matter of fact, I will look on my computer and give it to you before I leave.
And do you see any relief coming from the litigation out of the city of New Orleans?
No, that is litigation for. It is not for monetary relief. It is simply for a statement from the court saying that a violation is taking place, a constitutional violation is taking place. It is not for any sort of injunction or money or anything else. It is simply a statement from the court that a constitutional violation is taking place.
And for the governor's program of asking for all of these increase in taxes and so forth, is there a proposal in those increases to fund your office?
Not particularly our office, no, not as yet. We have been actively, we are unable to lobby as a state agency, but we have been in touch with especially the heads of the different committees, informing them of the situation we're in, and trying to get some sort of legislation that would provide us with funding. At this point, there's nothing in particular for our office. What we are finding is there are talks about general funding increases, but there is nothing particular for public defense.
Is there a bill that you would suggest be proposed of some increase in some type of fees that would be dedicated to your office?
We have gone to legislators for the last couple of years and asked for that sort of funding. Our preference would be, not our preference, I think the natural way to go would be some sort of sin tax, whether it be on alcohol, cigarettes, it seems that follows rather logically for us. But as yet, we have had no one carry that water for us. No one is willing to present any sort of funding relief for the office.
So perhaps an amendment to the beer tax or the cigarette tax dedicated to carve out to your office would be so beneficial to you?
Yes, yes. That just seems to logically flow. I mean, a number of the problems you see before you with respect to public defense come from alcohol.
And what's your state needs statewide, budget-wise?
If we had about $5 million more, we could pull most of the districts, if not all the districts, out of restriction of services. The problem is the next year you'd have that problem again, but I think that is probably about as reasonable a request as you could get to relieve the problem.
I was just thinking that if we could get a legislator to tack an amendment on to one of those tax bills to dedicate the first $5 million, if that's the number, to your agency, then, we pass that, that might be a permanent funding source for quite some time if those taxes are permanent.
Yes, but I should inform you that at this point, the state has cut across the board for next fiscal year, has had severe cuts for everyone, where they cut our budget by 64%, 63%. So for FY17, we need a separate suggestion to retain the funds that we've had historically.
I'm kind of looking for the long-term answer. If for some miracle, you get funded through June the 30th, the new fiscal year starts July 1st?
Yes, sir.
So if we get you to that point, if we have some dedication somewhere in the stream to take you into 2016-17 budget year, so you don't have to come back here next year for us,
yes,
is what I'm looking for.
All right. We historically receive about $33 million from the state. $33 million. Next year, it looks like about 13, between 12 and 13. What we would need to get out of all this problem is about 38, 39.
For 1 year?
Yes, sir. That is the entire state.
That takes care of all of that cigarette tax increase almost.
I'm afraid.
Okay.
My question is for Mr. Robinette. I'm sorry. Mr. Robinette, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last appropriation you got from us, was it 2011?
I believe it was 2011. I think it was a grant. It was not a line item at that time.
Oh, okay. I think it was a line for
Okay,
$250,000.
I may be wrong.
It posted as a grant, but I think it was from us for $250,000.
That sounds correct, yes.
So from 2011 till now, you have only operated on state funding?
On our, working down the fund balance we had, as we were required to do by the state, some supplemental funding from the state, and then the primary funding from the traffic tickets and fines and fees. But honestly, mostly been working down the fund. We haven't got anything from the parish.
I do remember that because we passed that on our first administration, and I took a lot of heat because I was very supportive of that. And some of the previous council members didn't think we should be funding the PDO, but then it stopped at that. The previous PDO lived a little bit lavish for my concerns, but here is it we are now. That's water under the bridge. But going forward from this now, it's bleak to July, and from July on, it's going to get worse?
That's the information, yes. Mr. Dixon, the state have provided me.
That's what I'm reading into, so I'm trying to get my head around it. Another question, too. If a defendant comes in, and you're representing them, and the judge imposes a fine, say a $250 fine, 6 months probation, where does that money go to?
The fines go to the court fund, I believe, the judicial fund. There is an additional, oftentimes if people, and this is kind of a perverse incentive, but if people are convicted, we get $45, which we get, if someone's put on probation, oftentimes the court will order a fee paid to our office. And obviously, if someone's truly indigent and they can't pay that fee, which is oftentimes the case for the people we represent, the court is not going to put them in jail for being unable to pay. That's unconstitutional. We can't do that. And to be clear, that does not happen in Plaquemines Parish. Neither Judge Clement or Judge Connor put people in jail for being truly unable to pay.
Could they do community service?
Sometimes, yeah, a lot of times that probation stuff is transmitted to community service. And that's fine, but ultimately that doesn't help us any.
No, it doesn't suffice our money woes.
Right. And we also assess a $40 application fee to everyone that is waived sometimes. Ms. Bowie regularly follows up with collection letters to people to get in and pay the $40 money order. Obviously, while that's dedicated to us, that's great. You know, those $40 here, $40 there, $45, that doesn't go all that far as supplemental funding. And again, I've got it here. I can email it to anyone who wants to see it, sort of our operating statements and our budgets for the year. The biggest issue is, well, not the biggest, but an additional issue outside of Chairman Roussell's questions to Mr. Dixon about how much the state would need at the state level, is we get remittances from the sheriff. Like I said earlier, our bare bones payroll that we're operating on now is about $25,000 to $27,000, depending on what happens that month. Our remittances from the sheriff are generally between $5,000 and $7,000 per month. So what's supposed to be our primary funding barely covers a third, and we don't really get that timely. We're still waiting to get disbursement from the sheriff for the month of January that we should have had by February 10th, I believe.
Do we get a percentage of tickets being written?
Yes.
Or fines from tickets being written?
Yes.
You do get a percentage of that?
Statutorily.
It's a share cost with the sheriff's office?
It's a statutorily dedicated $45 that every ticket, whether we represent the person or not, and that comes from any criminal conviction across the board. Obviously, there's a lot more tickets where people, so that's really the primary source statewide that people get.
If I can, Mr. Lapine, this goes to my question that I have been waiting to ask based on what Mr. Cormier said. So your primary funding is from the state and from tickets, fines, and fees. But, so I've checked with the sheriff's office, and it sounds like the amount of tickets that have been written have not decreased. It's been pretty much the same. It seems like the only discrepancy is the funding that you're getting from those tickets.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I think on to Mr. Cormier's question about diversion, is that money, when a ticket is put into diversion, is that money then sent somewhere else and not to your office as it would historically?
I can't speak to exactly how Mr. Bally's diversion program works. However, I can say if someone goes into the diversion program, completes it successfully, the case is dismissed, it doesn't count as a conviction, and we wouldn't recover any funding from that.
Can I ask you, have you seen a decrease in the fines and fees over the last couple of years, or at least this year in 2016, than what you have had?
We've had decrease, and I can provide you with this also, something that the state provided me with that they pulled from the Supreme Court that represents all traffic filings and criminal court filings in each district, and that has decreased by about 59%, I think, for this district.
Excuse me?
By about 59% since 2009.
And that's directly related to diversion?
I can't say that. I can't tell you why it's gone down, but I can tell you it has gone down.
Can you make an assumption?
No, I wouldn't really be comfortable saying that for sure. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into play, things that, you know, we had a different sheriff now than we did years ago. There's going to be a different sheriff next year. I can't say how he's choosing to engage in.
Yeah, I pulled the records for the amount of traffic tickets that were written, and it was exactly the same from 14 to 15. I think the only increase was during Isaac and during the oil spill, where they were almost doubled, and that's for obvious reasons. Contractors coming in, turnarounds, things like that. So
the 59% decrease, to be clear to tell you, is things that are actually filed in district court. So if something happens between arrest and filing, like a diversion or something, that may be possible. I can't speak to that.
And how much revenue do you think that is, the 59% decrease?
I'm sorry, I don't have that number right in front of me, but I do have a chart that says specifically what that amount is. I can certainly provide you with that.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Robinette.
I'm sorry, if I may, our decrease, if you use your notes, if you could explain.
All right. We actually, so one thing you should know is that the public defense system is probably the most transparent, well, is the most transparent in the criminal justice system. So we get reports every month from Matt. And so what we've been able to do is we can track what the revenue is. The revenue in calendar year 14 was $245,000. In 2013 was $204,000. In 14, it was $168,000, and in 15, it was $137,000. So it has been decreasing steadily for the last 4 years. And if you're telling me that tickets have been steady, then you've got to wonder why filings have been, I mean, so you get a ticket. The Public Defender's Office only gets money if that ticket is filed in court. If it's not filed in court, we don't see any money. Filings have dropped 59%. I can't make any assumptions.
You don't
on
have to
that.
assume anything further than that. That's all I need to know. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Mr.
Yes,
Juneau.
Can the universities help us from their law schools? Is there any way they can help us, like LSU, Tulane, UNO?
Not at a volume. I mean, it's great. I was in a law clinic when I was in law school. It was a fantastic experience. It's probably why I'm doing what I'm doing now. But the fact of the matter is, especially in an office like us where we have 2 people, it's way more inefficient to try to properly supervise someone who's learning than it is to just do it yourself, to be honest with you.
Well, in this crisis, that's what I was thinking. Maybe they could come up and assist.
Yeah. And there's also, I think it's Rule 20, the Supreme Court rule, that says everyone who's practicing has to be directly supervised by an attorney. So I couldn't send a student to another courtroom without me or Clark being in there with them at the same time. So they certainly could provide assistance, but not really enough to fix the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Russo.
Yeah, I'll try to wrap this up, but addressing Judge Clement's letter about the criminal court fund.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure if this letter indicates that that might be a suggestion of possible funding. So I probably would need some clarification of that. I know there's about $100,000 in the budget, according to the documents that we were provided. And it's my understanding to use the criminal court fund, the 2 judges have to sign off and the DA as well. So if that's a potential funding source, we'd like to clear that up to know that.
I don't know that I can speak to that. I don't want to put Judge Conner on the spot, but I think.
Yes. As you know, half the money gets returned back to the council at the end of the year that's in the criminal court fund. Judge Clement's working on this as we speak to see if we could use the criminal court fund. There's only certain things on the law you can use it for. And I know he indicated to me it would at least require some sort of a hearing process where we would have to put a justified need and get approval from our superiors in order to be able to even look into that. As far as Mr. Black's comment, the only person who's going to be able to answer that is Charles Ballet. And I'm going to encourage him to come back to you guys to answer those questions, because when something gets put in diversion, even I don't know about it, neither does Judge Clement. It never goes before us. We only deal with what comes before us. So I don't know what the numbers are or how many people he has or where the money goes or what he uses it for. I can tell you, historically, there's always a historical inequity between the funding of the prosecutor's office versus the funding of the public defender's office. There's always that issue. The prosecution in every jurisdiction, every state, always has more resources and more money. And that's just the way the system is designed. But I just want to remind you, because I don't want, when I was talking about the crime issue and stuff scaring you, I also want to remind you that the people we're talking about are your constituents. And these are people in your area. And the result I don't want to see happen is someone to be arrested and stay in jail for a length of time and not have any consultation with an attorney. And that very well may be. And as far as the sheriff's office goes, Mr. Black can tell you, one of the most disheartening things for a police officer is to find out people that they're arresting and putting in jail, we've got to release them. And that's something that wouldn't be very palatable. And again, I'm only concerned about the felony level of the people I have to deal with to protect the community. As far as the funds that generate through diversion or traffic, I don't know what that money is, but I would venture to say that whatever that is wouldn't be sufficient to cover, the funding issue. So I'm with Mr. Roussel in one respect. I don't think it's your problem to solve the long-term solution to this. We're just asking for the short term. And I do believe the state has got to take the bull by the horns and do some sort of measures for long term. So I agree with you there, sir.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, just thank you for listening, at least for what I had to say. And, I'll leave it up to you unless you got some more questions.
No, I'd just like to thank the judges for coming forward and bringing the issue forward. And I've heard nothing but good things about the PDO office. Hope I never need them. But I want to say that I'm personally work towards trying to help solve this problem because it is our constituents, and I'd not like to see the system, the judicial system collapse. So thank you all for coming today.
Thank you, Mr. Robinette. I wanted to personally thank you, and we've met one-on-one, and I really appreciate it. But please understand the predicament we're in. We understand the predicament you're in, and let's try to work the best that we can. I feel it's a state problem, but we're willing to try to do what we can with limited resources. And I see you're getting limited each day. But again, thank you for coming and giving us an update of what's going on.
Well, and I really appreciate the council and the administration taking the time to hear from us. I'm willing to reiterate my position that I'm open to speak with anyone at any time. If you want to get me by email or cell phone or whatever, I'm happy to talk with you. Chairman Roussel asked a little bit about the legislative position. I spoke with Representative Leopold a little bit Friday evening and Saturday morning, just trying to give him a baseline to kind of understand. He seemed legitimately concerned about this and wanted to speak with his caucus about it. I haven't spoken with them since then. Obviously, they're dealing with an enormous number of things. But again, thank you for your time, and please feel free to reach out to me if you want any more information on any of this. I'm going to go ahead and send you some of the information I referenced or provide it to your staff. If you have any questions about that, please let me know.
Yeah, and I just want to close by saying, at least I'll close for myself by saying, I want to put Mr. Robinette, you and Mr. Davis on the spot by asking you those questions. And thank you for your comments, Judge. I'm not making any accusations or anything. Don't get me wrong. It's my job to make sure I know where the money's going, and before we appropriate other funds, and have a clear understanding historically of the situation and how we got to the situation to begin with. So just to better educate myself and the constituents, I appreciate it.
We try to put our numbers together as clearly as possible. As Mr. Dixon said, we're completely transparent. Anybody has any questions about where anything's coming from or anything's going, I think it's a small enough amount it's easy to follow, but I think we're going to have it.
But thank you, Mr. Robinette.
Thank you all.
Mr. Black, I do have the records only since I've taken over since 2012 to show the decrease in funding we've received from the Sheriff's Department. Just to back you up, since you say you've checked into us writing the same amount of tickets, I can show you that the amount that we've received has decreased every year since 2012.
But you think my comments were pretty consistent, or?
Yeah, and I understand
Okay.
your concern, because if the same amount of traffic tickets have been written, then we should be receiving the same amount of funding, and we're not.
Okay.
So I can
And
provide
like I said, I
those
think it's well
reports.
within his rights to do that. It's a question between, I guess, the council and the
Absolutely.
district attorney
Yeah.
himself, so.
But I can
That's all.
get you those reports from 2012 to current to show the decrease we've received.
All right, Ms. Bowie, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Robinette. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
With that, we'll revert back to item 1, executive session, 1A. Ms. Barber, will you read executive session?
Arsenault versus Louisiana, 25th JDC, case number 56-611, Division A Attorney Shane Landry.
We got a vote on executive session. Ms. Toops, will you call the roll?
District 1? 2? 3?
Yes.
4?
Yes.
5?
Yes.
6?
Yes.
And 7?
We will convene executive session at 2:18. We come out of executive session at 2:39, finding no legal and binding action. We'll move to item 2. There are no bids and advertisements. Item 3, beer and liquor license. Mr. Bartholomew? Thank you. Mr. Black? Thank you. Mr. I have none. Mr. Russo, none? None?
I have none.
Thank you. We'll now move to building permits, item 4A, and if there's no objection from the table, I'd like to take them all in global.
I would like to remove
Okay.
3 and 4.
Remove them.
Yeah, I'm going to vote, I'm going to abstain from 3 and 4.
Okay.
I-
Ms.
I
Salvian, I'm
also-
sorry.
I also would like to take 4A2 out of order.
Okay. So we could take 1, 5, and 6 in global. Is there any objection to that? Ms. Barbara, will you read 1, 5,
Eustis
and 6?
Engineering, application number 2015-977, dated November 24th, 2015, to drill 8 soil borings, Bell Chase area and Braithwaite area. Council members Bartholomew and Burt. Number 5, Alfordish Contractors LLC, application number 2016-120, dated February 8th, 2016, to install pilings against existing bulkhead and riprap, 186 Perino Road, Sunrise, in parentheses, Empire. Councilmember Edgecombe. And number 6, CCI Port Nickel LLC, application number 2016-126, dated February 10th, 2016, for dock repair, rehabilitation to existing dock by installation of 5 new breasting structures, 2 72-inch mooring dolphin monopoles, 2 54-inch piles, and 1 cell fender. Dry bulk commodities will be stored on existing cement slab, 3607 English Turn Road, Braithwaite. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Mr. Bartholomew, would you like to offer them to 2 of them are yours?
Yes.
It's been offered, Mr. Bartholomew, second.
Second.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. McCann.
Let the record show that number 6 is provisional approval pending core approval.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
Without the
This
Bs.
is number 6 is
Pending?
provisional, pending council approval. It has not, core approval. If it receives council approval today, it will still need core approval before it can move forward.
Okay.
It's what is designed to expedite the process. Once the court approve it, we'll have to come back to the council for approval. But if the court denies it, then it becomes null and void.
Okay, thank you. It's been offered by Mr. Bartholomew, second by Mr. Russo. Any questions on the permit 1, 2, or 6? I'm sorry, 1, 5, and 6.
My only concern is I seconded this, but I didn't realize it was approved provisionally until by the Corps. Is this normal procedure? Because in the past, we have said that we didn't want to give local approval, so they could go to the Corps and say, look, the local government has no problem with it. So then we're back to the chicken and egg thing.
It is not, it is precedented. The council has done it before. Councilman Roussel, it's not done often, but it has been done. The way it works is, as stated, the permit office simply holds the permit and does not move forward and approve it until the, in this case, one necessary approval in this case, which is the Army
No,
Corps.
I understand that, but my point is that people in the past have used the argument that to try to justify getting a permit somewhere else, that the local government has approved it. And I'm not against this, don't get me wrong. I'm just worried about the precedent and that, you know, if another issue comes up and I'm not for it, and then people will say, well, you seconded that motion and you approved that motion, you know, in the past.
I understand.
So-
I understand your concern.
So, I mean, you know, that's why I bring this up, because in the past it has been done that way, where people have used a local permit to try to obtain a state or federal permit.
I understand your concern. I guess it would be at the council's discretion. The reason why we bring it for you today is because it was requested. It's normally requested when the applicant feels certain that they will receive that missing piece of the puzzle, in this case, the Army Corps approval, before the next council meeting, and they want to be able to move forward. I understand your concerns, Councilman Roussel, but it has been done in the past, so I would leave it at your discretion.
I'd like to remove my second, ask somebody else a second. I'm going to vote for it, but I just, you know, want to have that position when it comes up when I don't want to vote for it.
Understood.
The second has been removed. Mr. Bartholomew's offered, I'll second it. Any questions on the permit? Mr. 2?
District 1?
Yes.
2? 3?
Yes.
4?
Yes.
5?
Yes.
6?
Yes.
And 7.
Yes.
And the permits are granted 7-0. Move to item 4A2.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, did she read it yet?
Not yet.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oren Bro, application number 2015-982, dated February 2, 2015, to install a boat shed, 117 Wilkinson Lane. Councilmember Trufant Salvant.
You
Yes.
offer, Ms. Salvant?
Yes, but, yes, I do.
You offer?
Yes.
And I'll second it.
Okay, before I would put it before a vote, I just wanted the permit department to kind of weigh in on this particular permit because of the fact that it's indicated that it's a boat shed, and my office receives numerous phone calls in regards to the previous boat sheds that was withdrawn or deferred due to the lack of any action on it. So I wanted to make sure that the public was aware of just the particulars surrounding this particular boat shed. So I wanted to defer to the permit department.
The difference between the two permits, Councilmember Savant, is that this is a construction permit, whereas the other one was a building permit that needed council approval because of its location in a floodplain. The difference between the two is, with the building permit, you have a situation where the codes applicable to a building permit are the Uniform Construction Code of the State of Louisiana, whereas with a construction permit, 90% of the time, it's because the proximity of the project is over the water. You have something on the land with a building permit versus something over the water with a construction permit, and because it's over the water, it needs local, state, and federal approvals. So that's your basic difference between the two. You have the difference of a construction permit and a building permit.
Okay, and also, in addition to the previous permits that was regarding the boat sheds, that was a conflict with the potential drainage system.
That's correct, and that should be noted,
I just wanted to make
too.
sure that was clear.
That's
and-
correct. The problem with that was, not only was it a building permit versus a construction permit, but it was a building permit that was placed in a proximity that may have interfered with a drainage infrastructure project.
Okay, thank you. With that said, I offer.
Okay. You good?
Yes.
Any other questions? Mr. Lawrence?
Warren Lawrence, there's just a question, it's in Myrtle Grove. Was it approved by the Architectural Review Committee from Myrtle Grove?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Toots, would you call the roll?
District 1?
Yes.
District 2? Yes. District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
And District 7?
Yes.
Permit is granted 7-0. Now, we'll take item 3, Info and Global. Ms. Barber, will you read both of them?
Yes, sir. Number 3, Century Exploration New Orleans LLC, application number 2015-1060, dated December 28, 2015, to install 4-inch pipeline, Breton Sound Area Block 45, Councilmember Bartholomew. And number 4, Chevron Chemical Company, application number 2016-86, dated January 27, 2016, for installation of spread footing foundations, Ornite Plant Bell Chase, Councilmember Burt.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burt. Any questions from the table? Audience?
District 1?
Yes.
District 2? District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
And District 7?
Yes.
There is 6, the vote is 6 yes and 1 abstention from District 2. And the permit is granted. We'll move to item 4B, and if not objection, we'll take B, C, D, E, and F, and Global. Those are trailer renewals. Is there any objection from the table? Ms. Barber, will you read B through F?
Yes, sir. B, Danos Rentals LLC, Anthony Danos, 2016 Trailer Park Renewal, RP, Lane, Triumph, Louisiana, Councilmember Williams. Falcon Crest Trailer Park Number 1, Gary Falcon, 2016 Trailer Park Renewal, Adams Loop, Empire, Louisiana, Councilmember Edgecombe. Falcon Crest Trailer Park Number 2, Gary Falcon, 2016 Trailer Park Renewal, Falcon Crest Lane, Triumph, Louisiana, Councilmember Williams. C&H Mobile Home Park, Carol Turner, 2016 Trailer Park Renewal, 26180 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana, Councilmember Trufant Salvant. And F is Southern Oaks Mobile Home Community, LLC, Thomas Gorman, 2016 Trailer Park Renewal, 300 block of East 3rd Street, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Councilmember Black.
It's been offered. The permits B, C, D, E, and F and global. I'll ask for a second. Second by Mr. Black. Any questions on the trailer permits? Nope. Ms. Toops?
District 1?
Yes.
District 2? District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
And the permits are granted 7-0. Move to item 4G.
David and Lisa Gilliott, new residents in a floodplain zoning district, 292 West Cass Lane, Lake Hermitage. Councilmember Trufant Salvant.
You offer, Ms. Salvant?
Yes.
I'll second. Any questions? Ms. Toops?
District 1? District 2? District 2? Yes. District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
And District 7?
Yes.
And the permit is granted 7-0. We will move to item number 5, introduction of ordinance. Mr. Bartholomew.
Yes, I have one. An order authorizing an emergency exemption on the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemine Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. Mr. Black.
A resolution to appoint a representative for District 2 to the Plaquemine Parish Zoning and Planning Development Board and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, emergency generator government complex administration building project, and the road repairs Mildred Street project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Mr. Juneau.
Yes, I have one. An ordinance amending and as amended, readopting various sections of the Plaquemine Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 11, Garbage and Trash, Article 1, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I have 2. A resolution authorizing the parish president, Amos Cormier Jr., to renew, amend, and extend the current contract of employment with Cortland A. Crochet Senior, CPA, LLC, Acadian Professional Services, LLC, Sales Tax Collections, through December 31st, 2017, with additional 2-year options to renew thereafter, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing the parish president, Amos Cormier Jr., to renew, amend, extend the current contract of employment with Gary A. Lambert, doing business as Gary A. Lambert and Company, Sales Tax Collections, through December 31st, 2017, with additional 2-year options to renew thereafter, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all. Mr. Russo?
Yes, I have a resolution urging Plaquemine Parish's congressional delegation to support the parish's position to protect the federal funding of the Louisiana Comprehensive Master Plan for a Sustainable Coast Master Plan from funds received from the Gulf of Mexico Energy Security Act, GOMESA, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, Waterline Russell Drive to Booster Station Project, and the Upgrade Belle Chase Water Plant Project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And a resolution authorizing the parish president or his designee to accept the donation of a 1922 fire engine pumper for the Belle Chase Volunteer Fire Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Burt.
I have none.
Thank you. Ms. Salvant.
Yes, I have one. An ordinance to amend ordinance number 15-31 and as amended, readopt section 17.5-2 of the Code of Ordinance entitled Fees for the Use of Parish Government Facilities and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
That it. Thank you, Ms. Miller. We'll move to item 6, ordinance and resolutions on the second reading, final passage. We'll move to 6A2.
An ordinance approving the assignment by Clayton Williams Energy, Inc. as assignor to D.W. Wapiti Investments I, LLC as assignee, covering Parish Tract 08-1 and Parish Tract 10-2, to authorize the parish president to execute and authorize the consent to the assignment and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offer.
Offer by Mr. Bartholomew. Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Juneau. Mr. Bartholomew.
Yeah, if anybody question legal, the presidents over here can have any questions concerning the contract.
Any questions?
The only question I have is that, is this a foreign, DW Wapiti Investments, is this a foreign corporation? I know it's something I've never heard of before, but
I would ask legal. Mr. Landry?
I'm not sure as to its place of origin, Coach. I can find that out for everybody if y'all want to defer it, if it's especially.
well, I don't want to hold it up. I just was wondering where the, who we're in business with now, so to speak.
Yeah, we'd have to check the Secretary of State's website for that, which we didn't do. It's not something we do as a matter of routine, but it's something that can be done if it's interested.
Question?
You want
Nobody have any question? Call for the question.
you want to call the question?
Mr. Russell said he doesn't have a problem.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Tubes. Oh, I'm
Sorry.
Yeah.
District 1?
Yes.
District 2? District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Abstain.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
The vote is 5 yes and 2 abstentions from District 2 and District 5. We'll move to item 6D.
A resolution authorizing and directing the parish president or his designee to do all things necessary and proper to negotiate, execute, and perfect, and enforce any and all documents required to apply for a Louisiana Government Assistance Program grant from the Office of Community Services in the amount of $103,800 to purchase 3 replacement motor vehicles and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'm offering with changes. I think there were some changes brought to me by the administration. I understand with 2 cars instead of 3 cars, but I don't have a clarity of any kind of changes. But before we discuss this, I'm gonna ask for a second because we're not gonna change it. Let me defer, I'm gonna defer this today.
Okay.
I'm gonna defer this today, I'm sorry.
We'll get changes for you
Yes.
for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Move to item 6E.
A resolution authorizing the parish president Amos Cormier Jr. to renew, amend, and extend the current contract of employment with Revenue Recovery Group, Inc., sales tax collection through December 31st, 2017, with additional 2-year options to renew thereafter and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Okay. I'm going to offer this and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burt. This is just a contract that we renew. If there are any questions, I can direct it to the legal team or Ms. Geisler's office. Give a second discussion.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, what's the contract for and how much is it for?
Legal or Ms. Geisler? Can I get an answer? Yeah.
Contract is for auditing services for the sales tax collections. This auditing firm does multi-parish audits, and Plaquemines Parish is included in that. In the parishes, the way the contract, the fees work, if they collect money for us, if they find monies out there, we pay them up to a percentage of whatever they collect, and if they don't find any monies, then we don't pay them.
Good. Anyone else? Audience? Mr. Lawrence?
My question on this, I noticed that they introduced some for the same services coming up next time. Somebody introduced this.
I did.
And my question is, and I don't know if it's been done yet, been harping about the borrower pits with the sales tax, and I know it seems like we never did, or did we hire the audit firm yet to do that? They're hired?
They've been hired. We've sent them a task order. Yeah.
Because 2 meetings ago, they wasn't hired, you said.
No, I said they hadn't started working. It's different.
Okay. But they getting paid instead of doing it on a
They don't get
percentage.
paid until they work, Mr. Lawrence.
But if they collect something, they get paid. If they don't collect something, they still get paid, just like Myers Engineering. Am I
Yes.
correct?
On that one, yes, sir.
Yeah,
But it
okay.
comes out of the fees that are paid as fines and so on, and also the road use fees to some degree can go into that.
Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. Anyone else? Ms. Toops?
District 1,
Yes.
District 2, 3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
6,
Yes.
and 7.
Yes.
And the resolution is granted 7-0. Item 6G, I'm sorry, was to be deferred. I forgot, at the request of Mr. Edgecombe. Move to 6H.
A resolution supporting the negotiations for the sale of approximately 609 acres of Plaquemines Parish government property, currently described as the Woodlands Conservancy Trail and Park, to Woodlands Conservancy, a nonprofit 501c3 corporation, to allow the further development of infrastructure improvements and amenities to promote Plaquemines Parish ecotourism and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Black, you offering?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Russo. Mr. Black?
I'm not sure if anybody's here from
Yes.
Woodlands Conservancy. Yeah, Katie, I mean, just come up. You maybe ask a question or not, I don't know, but just be prepared. Basically, this is non-bonding. This is just for the parish to go out and negotiate with the Woodlands Conservancy after an appraisal is done for the 609 acres that is currently located off of Woodland Highway in Effort-Bear behind the government complex. It is 609 acres of, I don't want to say forested wetlands, but I mean, can you give me a better term? What would you call it?
I call it forested wetlands.
Okay, so forested wetlands. So if you remember before, we talked about this property. They had a CEA in place which had expired between the Woodlands Conservancy and Plaquemines Parish government to have Woodlands Trails and Park. That still exists. There isn't a CEA in place. Woodlands Conservancy Foundation has come up with a revenue source that may provide them the revenue to, or the capital to actually purchase this property. So without going any further, this is really just a resolution to enter into negotiations. If it comes back that the parish is actually interested in selling it, it's going to have to come back before the council for a final vote. But that's pretty much all. If anybody else has any other comments or questions, I'll.
Will this be open to public bid?
Yeah, that's what I asked legal. I met with the council chair and with legal a couple days ago, just to ask them the legality of it. And I'll let legal give the rest of the council his opinion on it.
Yes, ma'am. Before we can alienate any public property, y'all have to decide first that it's surplus, then we advertise it for bid, and we use the base bid from a privately funded appraisal. We don't pay for that. Whoever's asking us to bid it will pay for that. And then we'll put it out for bid, advertise it, and then we'll take, the highest bidder. Now, usually what happens is the person who wants to buy it is the only bidder. I mean, that's just the nature of these things, but it's not inconceivable that somebody else might come swoop in and, want to pay a lot more money. So, but that is the process.
And I guess I want to echo on Ms. Sal. How does this equate to the same one we had about a month ago with the Ag Center that we went out with? What is the difference between that
There's no difference. We're going to do the same thing with that one. We can't not do the same thing. We have to do the same thing.
Okay, but I think the big discussion that day was Mr. McCartney got up and already kind of said it was his deal, his land, so we were
I think
obligated
Mr.
to him. And I just
Understood.
still want to make sure we're obligated to one person.
Yeah, no, we're not. He still has to bid on it after he makes his.
I know, that was the
his
big
appraisal.
discussion there.
Yes,
I
sir.
just want to make sure.
Yeah, no. We can't do that. You know, you have to do the notice requirements, and everybody has to get an appraisal, and he has to bid for it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a concern. Why you wouldn't be interested in leasing it, a long-term lease? Because, this is my opinion, that we don't have that much land as a parish government anyway. Then we're not sure that you're going to wind up with the property when it goes out for public bid. That's number two. So, but we have the right to negotiate a lease agreement with you. It could be whatever. You know, that way you have total access to it, and that's guaranteed. But that's just my opinion. Ask the question.
Okay. And that is a good question. I guess what I would say is a lease is not really, a lease is still, it's not going to allow us to seek funds to develop amenities on the property like an interpretive center, because large funding sources aren't really going to invest that kind of money into a piece of property that they know can change, you know, with a 30-day notice. So that's really the big difference.
But if that's in the agreement, it may not even be a part of the agreement to do that. If it can be arranged and such, till that thing comes about a change when you or your organization decides that you no longer need the use of the property.
I guess we would be at the mercy of who's in office at that time, whether they would keep to that agreement.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Yes, I just don't
Oh, I'm
want-
sorry, Ms. Trupel, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I just don't want my comment to be taken as though that I'm a hindrance or against the project, but all I'm saying is I just want it to be consistent. As Mr. Lapine said earlier, that was a conversation at the table amongst the council members when we had another gentleman standing before us with the very same issue. And the issue was would it be going out to open bid? And that's what prompted me to ask the question. You make sure that we're treating everybody the same.
I guess I don't know the law. I know the issue about public bid. I don't know if you can specify a use for the property. I don't know about that.
We could enter into whatever kind of agreement the council allows us to enter into. So, I mean, it's subject to negotiation. We could do a long-term lease and require it to be used for public, recreational, tourist purposes. There's nothing to prevent that.
Wait, hold on, Mr. Burt first. Okay.
I just had two questions. Should we not have an active CEA in place before we even move forward on this?
We probably do need to negotiate one, yes, sir.
The second question is just, what are the projected revenues for the parish, should we move forward with this?
I guess that you can't really project what the revenues are until you find out what the appraised value is. I would say that the revenues would be the fair market value of the property, whatever that shall be.
Mr. Russo?
Yeah, yes, my support of this is based on the fact that, you know, for all of these items that are listed on this handout shows you that, you know, all of these corporations have recognized this property as being a conservancy of green space. And if you look at all of the property surrounding it, you know, it'll be developed. This will be the last bottomland hardwood stand that we have in the area to preserve. And that was the intention many years ago when it was first put on the table to be the Woodlands Trail at that time. And so my goal in all of this is that we tailor the solicitation to make sure that it stays a green space and it stays a conservancy area, and that if there's any change to that conservancy holding, that it would revert back to the parish. You know, my opposition in the past to projects there because they wanted to tear down all the woods. Well, I think this is an opportunity to protect the woods and the green space and the holding area for the drainage and all of those things that go along with having this type of facility, if you want to call it that, on the map. And, you know, if you look at it from the aerial view, this is it's a conservancy bird sanctuary, and it's well recognized by all of these corporations, all the way from California to Louisiana. So they've recognized it, and I'm hoping that we can recognize it. And it's something that I think is long overdue.
Thank you.
I'll add, but Sure, Reverend, come up, as you come up, I'll just add one more thing. And I think that's what this resolution pretty much does. It doesn't, like I said, it's not binding. It gives us the opportunity to then draft an ordinance stating the items that Mr. Russo just mentioned, and then we'll come back to vote, and we'll make a decision if that's in the best interest of the parish or not at this time. This kind of just allows the parish to enter those negotiations and create that legislation, so.
Okay. Mr. Edwards?
Again, my organization, the Zion Tribal Cooperative Center, we have been working very close with Woodland. Matter of fact, we met not too long ago, because the day I talked to Mr. Lawrence, we have a program called Connecting Children to the Environment, and we've been trying to get the kids to understand wetlands and what it's about. And when we met with the organization, we was trying to look at woods on the East Bank that can complement that, so future generations of children can understand what the wetland, what species is all about. And we didn't have that much space, so we were looking at how it can enhance the work that we're trying to do with our young people, not only here on the East Bank, but the kids in all the public schools in Plaquemine Parish. We use this as the area where future kids and future generations will understand it. So I hope that we could do everything that's within our means to try to preserve, and Mr. Russo said that, because everybody around this country, when I go around this country, look at Plaquemine Parish for what it has, and inside of what we're doing with all these borrowed pits, we need some space in this parish that can represent, you know, wetland, greenland, where our children can come in. So forestry, because we have very little. So I hope the parish will do everything that they can, because I know our organization, we want to see something used where we can bring children from the East Bank on and learn some of the things that we're trying to teach them that's absent within the school system.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Thank you.
Mr. Lawrence?
I just have one comment with the resolution was the negotiations for the sale. And to be a sale, if they're negotiating for a sale, or we consider this surplus property, I don't consider this a surplus property for this parish. And I think we have to look at whether you want to change in sale or lease or something that, if there is something that we guaranteed that the land will always be for public use, for a green space and everything like Mr. Russo said. And I just question the part of sale without saying it's not surplus.
Well,
Mr. Lawrence, you bring up Mr. Chairman, Mr. Lawrence, you bring up a good point, and we've talked about it a little bit since this came on the radar in the legal department, and our position is we would recommend very strongly that a conservation easement or servitude was placed over this to make sure that if there was a sale, we would sell it without the right to develop.
Shane, you talking about doing that now in the resolution or in the ordinance?
No, that was just sort of shop talk in general, along the lines of what Mr. Lawrence was speaking of, because, you know, we saw it and we were wondering, well, what we do if it passes. And our conclusion was the best way to make sure that this didn't become, you know, a place for a golf course down the road, if we alienate it, is to put a conservation easement on it.
But that would be done at a later date, not...
No, that's not today. No, sir, Mr. Black. This would be part of the negotiation process, if it came to that.
Okay. Any other questions? Audience? Ms. Toops, call the...
District 1,
voting today, but if it comes up for sale next meeting, I'm voting no.
District 2? Yes. District 3? That's you.
Abstain?
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Abstain.
District 7?
Yes.
Passed with 5 votes yes and 2 abstentions, 1 from District 3, 1 from District 6.
I just want to say thank you for bringing this up today and addressing it. I think it's an opportunity that's a win-win for both of us. We've been on that property, or we've been in existence for 15 years, and it's a way to provide some income to the parish and allow us to continue to promote ecotourism in Plaquemines Parish by making some amenities that bring in more tourists who will then spend more money in your parish. So I just appreciate you for addressing the issue.
Thank you, Ms. President.
Can I find, who's the 2 council members that abstained?
2.
Oh, two.
Good.
Thank you.
How many or which ones?
No, which one? Thank you. 2 and 6.
Districts.
Thank you. 2 and 6.
3 and 6.
Oh, 3 and 6.
We'll move to item 4I,
Sorry
I
about
mean
that.
6I.
A resolution encouraging and urging the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, the state congressional delegation, the United States Army Corps of Engineers, USACE, and the federal congressional delegation to take any and all necessary action to repair the numerous leaks in the Belle Chase Tunnel and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You offer, Mr. Russo?
I offer.
I'll second. Yeah. Huh? Yeah, a unanimous second, I hope. Go ahead, Mr. Russo.
Yes, it doesn't really need a whole lot of discussion. Anybody that drives through the tunnel knows the condition and the situation that we live with every day. And in efforts in the past, we've always been told that, well, you're going to get a new bridge. You know, there's a bridge tunnel replacement project that's being looked at, and that's all fine, and I support those projects. But to live with this tunnel in the condition that it is today for the next however many years it is before they decide that they have enough funding at the state level to replace it, we need to put it on the radar of the state and our congressional and state delegation to make them aware, which I'm sure they are aware, but to make it a priority, that this has to be addressed. It's dangerous. We've seen accidents there. You can't go and wash your car and drive through there without it being splattered on the way through. It's just unbearable. You know, I don't know how much more to say about describing this condition because everyone that goes through there knows it firsthand. So I'm hoping that we can at least put it on the table, make it an issue for our state delegation, and the reason I include the federal delegation is because they are the ones that put the floodgates in the tunnel, cut the wall, and increase the leaking from the groundwater tremendously. So I'm hoping that the state negotiates with the federal government to be able to solve that problem, and also the state take an action to be able to solve the leaking inside the tunnel as well. And without any further discussion, I'm just frustrated as the guy next to me that drives through and splatters my car is when I drive through and splatters his car. So I want to see that something done, this become a priority, and I appreciate their efforts on the replacement projects, but this needs to be fixed. And I even got a little sarcastic in there, if you noticed, where if we can send a man to the moon, we can definitely fix a leaking tunnel.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. Any other questions? Audience? Ms. Toops?
District 1?
Yes.
District 2? Yes. District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
And District 7?
Yes.
And the resolution granted 7-0. We'll move to 6K.
A resolution appointing James Griffin as the District 1 member of the Plaquemines Recreation Advisory Committee and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Offer.
Offer. Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Juneau. Offer is read, Ms.
Offer is read.
Any questions? Ms. Toops?
District 1,
One? Yes.
District 2? District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
And District 7?
Yes.
And the resolution is granted 7-0. Move to 6L.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 general,
I'm sorry, I apologize, we passed L, I'm sorry, that was in the beginning. 6M.
a resolution authorizing Parish President Amos Cormier Jr. not to renew Dizzy Dean sanctioning for 2016 and sign a new sanctioning agreement
No,
with...
wait, we passed 6M, I was on 6. Huh? L was correct, you meant, 6, no, we passed 6M. Do 6L.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 general fund operating expenditure budget, Building Department, Davant Percy Griffin Center, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Bartholomew, offer me? Yeah. You're making me look bad on TV. Offer, not second. Mr. Bartholomew?
This is appropriating funds to restore the weight room. The building right in the back, where the wire that moved all the material, all the waste from it, we disseminated throughout the area. We had a guy come in and to look at it, and this was the price that we gave, $29,000 to restore the material.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Bartholomew, I begged you at the budget hearing not to remove the funding from the YMCA. I knew that we'd come down to this. We did remove the money. It was moved. That was $50,000 that was appropriated towards this center back then. We appropriated more funding two meetings ago for the summer program. We filled a position to work the center. I just can't see. The YMCA had equipment here. If we wouldn't have pulled that funding from the YMCA, the equipment would still be here. They would still be operating the pool. They would still have personnel working here. Look, I don't know where else in the parish we have free gym equipment for folks to use. It's certainly not in my area. I unfortunately can't vote for this $30,000 to be used for gym equipment when we can't, like the judge said, you can't keep people in jail because we might not be able to have proper representation. So I apologize, but I can't support this based on all of those facts that I've provided.
This is totally, it's not correct, facts are stated. First of all, the $50,000 that was taken out of from the budget of the $300,000 from the Y, that was appropriated to the Y to run a recreational program for 3 different facilities. Recreation, not day-to-day operation. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass out a copy while I'm still talking. I want everybody to look at that. And in terms that we said that the people in this area, because of the status of the economy, the kids and the family members wasn't able to pay the $10 per child to have the recreational program. So this is the reason why we petitioned out of the $300,000 to only take $50,000, which the Y was operating 3 programs, 3 different centers. So to me, that would equate to $100,000 a center. But no, we didn't ask for that. We asked for $50,000 to do the recreational program during the summer. And that's only for that. Now, the page I just gave you showed what the Y was taking the Legacy Foundation, that they're projected to raise $5 million, and they had planned on taking the $5 million and to put into the different centers, that's those items that were listed on here. And one of them at the Davant Center is the weight room. And that was a raise to put into this building. Not for them to remove it, but they say it was for them. So I'd rather than get a controversial issue out of this mess, let them take it. And so I'm asking that this council support the $30,000 that's in the budget, that's in the highway fund on the East Bank, doesn't have an impact on anything else in the parish but the east side, and to appropriate that so we can redo what we had in the past. That's all we're asking. We're not asking for anything else. Now, if the Y was considered, they could have still did what they had to do with that. They didn't have to move. They didn't have to take anything out. They could have supported each component that they had said they wanted to do without no reservation whatsoever. Nobody told them anything different. It was upon themselves that they decided to move even tissue paper, napkins, staplers, ditto paper. I mean, whatever they bought, they just removed it. That was fine. That's fine. That was their choice. But all I'm saying is that it never should have been moved if it was raised in intent to be put at these facilities. But it has been. And I'm not trying to get out of here and create an argument with the Y or get a judgment against the Y or anybody else. I'm just asking that we take something that's available that can keep us going that way where we're left off at. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. Any other questions?
You gonna buy it or lease it?
Fine, I lease it.
I'll go with you if you're gonna lease it.
Boy, it costs us more to lease it over the long run than to buy it.
You're missing the point. Let's go.
All right. Any other
Boy, this
questions?
was to fight for it. Go to court. I know.
Audience? Ms. Toops, call the.
District 1?
Yes.
District 2? No. District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
And the.
Thank you.
This resolution, it's an ordinance, I'm sorry, the ordinance is granted 6-1. We'll move to 6N.
A resolution authorizing Parish President Amos Cormier Jr. not to renew Dizzy Dean sanctioning for 2016 and sign a new sanctioning agreement with USSA, and the cost per year will be waived at no cost to Plaquemines Parish government.
I'll offer.
Offered by Mr. Burt. I'll second it, Mr. Burt.
Basically, what this does, it allows us to change sanctioning from Dizzy Dean to USSSA. It's basically just a rule change. It'll allow us to operate under some different rules, different guidelines, and this is, for all the recreational parks related to baseball and softball. So, as it states in it, there's no cost to the parish this year, and as I pointed out to Mr. Freeman a few days ago, it will potentially save us a few $1,000s moving forward with the purchase of sanctioning patches, which USSSA you don't have to. So I'll entertain any questions.
Is the Recreation Department okay with this, Mr. Burt?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Freeman? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Freeman, would you explain how we're going to save money with the tournament?
Good afternoon, Council. Okay.
Green?
To answer Mr. Cormier's question, there's several cost savings. The initial cost savings the first year, all costs will be waived. We will be imputed into the program and enter in as a recreational U-Trip teams, all the teams, softball and hardball. And there will be no cost to the parish as administration costs from U-Trip. Also, in the past, we have gone to places that have put a big price tag on this parish as far as costs, as far as hotels and travel, meals, and this year with U-Trip, we will play a state tournament in Slidell, and most divisions will get an invitation to go to the World Series, which will be held in Biloxi at a reduced cost, and that's things that can be passed on. The way I see it right now, the way our budget has been stripped, it'll be a cost savings all around. Also, one of the points that Mr. Charlie brought up was just in patches and other things that were required, some small incidentals. There is a cost, and it is an amount. So I think it's a win-win. The Dizzy Dean franchise is getting left behind. There's only 2 parishes in the state of Louisiana that still participate at the level we did, and that's us in St. John's. Jefferson had 1 team, 1 division in it, and they do that so that they can win and go to the World Series. It's a very costly franchise once you go to the World Series, and we're not getting the representation that we had in the past when there were many parishes. Actually, the state director moved to Poplarville, Mississippi. So we have to actually make a trip to Poplarville to pick up paperwork and to get things signed off on. And I would only hope that the council looks to the future, and everybody else has moved to U-Trip. If you have a child that has any intent on playing ball at any other level, this is the avenue to get him to where he needs to be. With that, I'll answer any other questions.
Mr. Freeman. Mr. Freeman.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. The sound system is kind of...
There isn't many organizations left.
No, sir, you're right.
There's Dizzy Dean, is there Dixie Youth? What were you?
There is several. There's Babe Ruth, and there's several, but most of those are out of our state.
Correct.
And they're not in our state.
So most of this will be more competitive than what we're trying to achieve.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm good with it.
This also will give us a lot more opportunities. Our children get involved and participate, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yes, it will, Mr. Barlow.
Just one example real quick, and I'll let it that. When we were playing Dizzy Dean before, all the parks were sanctioned Dizzy Dean. When the season was over, before they prepared for the World Series, they had to go play in USSSA sanctioned events just to get tournaments in because there's no other Dizzy Dean parks in the area. So we would play Dizzy Dean, go to U-Trip, back to Dizzy Dean, and the rules are way different. For example, I told Ms. Salvant before the meeting, at 9 and 10 years old, in Dizzy Dean, you can't steal bases. USSSA, you can. And Dizzy Dean, I just call it fake baseball. So there's definitely a lot more opportunity moving forward.
How does the travel teams affect these?
This has no bearings on travel. This is strictly recreational. USSSA, they do offer travel baseball. It's all the same rules, but the parish recreation will be sanctioned under USSSA. So this is no way affiliated or directed towards travel baseball. This is strictly recreational recreation.
Okay.
Any other questions? Ms. Toots, will you call the roll?
Well.
District 1?
Yes.
District 2? Yes. District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
And District 7?
Yes.
And the resolution is granted 7-0.
Thank you.
Move to item 6P.
A resolution to authorize the parish president, Amos J. Cormier, Jr., to establish investment money market accounts at Whitney Bank for the general pooled and bond indebtedness account funds and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bartholomew. This is just moving some money to some better rates at money market accounts at Whitney. If there's any questions, try to entertain it. In the audience? The machine is open on 6P. I almost went the whole meeting and didn't do it.
District 1?
Yes.
District 2? District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
And the resolution's granted 7-0. We move to item 7, new business. 7A, introductions of resolutions wherein suspensions are being sought. We have none. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Barber. We go
Ready for
7B.
Update and presentation by District 7. Councilmember Trufant Salvant.
Ms. Alban?
Yes, Mr. Cormier, I think my question was answered in executive session, but what I have listed here is that, but I'm going to make mention of it anyway, just to make your administration aware of it. Right past, right south of Ironton Road, there's, on Highway 23, there's a buckling of the highway. And this is new highway that just came through there. And I've received at least 5 phone calls within the last 2 days. One guy, because the speed limit through there is like 65. And if you come in on the highway at a rate of 65 and you hit that area, one guy told me he almost lost control. So I just wanted to bring it to the administration attention and see if we can do something about it.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Salvin, Mr. Dugas will address that at this time.
Thank you.
Ms. Audrey, is that northbound or southbound?
Southbound.
Southbound?
Yes.
Okay, we'll bring it to DOTD's attention in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
You want to wait, or he's going to give you a minute?
No,
after
just
me? Okay.
move on. Just move on.
We will move to item 8, approval of the minutes from the February 11, 2016 council meeting. I'll offer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bartholomew. Ms. Toots?
District 1,
Yes.
District 2, District 3.
Yes.
District 4.
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
District 6.
Yes.
And District 7.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, before we end, Mr. Bartholomew, thank you for this wonderful host today. It's a beautiful building. Enjoy coming down. I'd like to make an announcement next. Mr.
Yeah, you was talking to Mr. Bartholomew, and I really want to, it's a great day for us on the east bank of the river to have the parish council in this building. This is Black History Month, and there are so many African Americans who fought in the civil rights movement. Just to have this council in this building is great, and on the legacy of a lot of people's struggle. So just to have the parish council in here, even though we don't have the courthouse built, but your presence here today give us a lot of hope, and we feel like we're a part of the parish just to have you in this building. So I had a lot of things to do, but I went all on my way because I just wanted to be here part of that historical moment. So I want to share with Mr. Bartholomew, and I know Councilman Griffin tried to do this when he was a councilman, but the parish didn't do it at that time. But anyway, I just want to thank the parish for being here on the legacy of so many heroes and sheroes not here who would be honored if they was alive today to witness this historical event.
Thank you, Mr. C. Mr. Freeman, you have one announcement?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd
Okay.
appreciate Mr. Reverend Tyrone Edwards' remarks, and we appreciate that on behalf of the administration and the council with your History Month presentation.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
We have made every effort to notify the public that baseball registration ends on March the 12th for softball and baseball parish-wide. We've made a concerted effort to make public notice. We have a street sign out there blinking. We've posted it in the newspaper. We've told everyone that we can tell. So I hope that if there's anyone here that can pass that message on, and through the television, maybe we can get a few more people, but hopefully everybody will come in. So it ends on March the 12th. We thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
Could you ask a PIO maybe to post that as well? I think that he does a great job, by the way, but maybe just post that as well on that parish page.
Yes,
Twitter.
we wish him a speedy recovery. He had a minor operation.
Thank you.
Okay, I didn't know that.
He'll take
Sorry
care
about
of
that.
Mr. Lapine, as a woman of color, I want to also thank Reverend Edwards for coming to the stand boldly and acknowledging the month of February as Black History Month and our presence in this building, because I could remember years, I think we kind of kidded Mr. Russo earlier, Sister Ankelord, Miss Ankelord and myself, when we were a part of the Fishermen and Concerned Citizen years ago, we held this very same government accountable for a lot of things that we was not privy to. So I too want to thank all of my colleagues and all for participating and agreeing to move into this building that bears the name of a civil rights leader of this parish. So I too want to thank you.
Thank you.
I agree, and I can't understand why anybody would have voted against it, so.
Thank you, Mr. Tyrone. I was reading all the posters outside. It's very impressive. It's very enlightening. So I will be here at the next meeting. I will start the meeting. I will be leaving. I will take a short recess and be leaving. I have somewhere to go out of town. Mr. Bartholomew will be taking over. So I will be at the next meeting, starting the meeting, but I won't be finishing it. So just want to make an announcement. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll offer.
Offered by Mr. Russo, second by Mr. Bartholomew. Ms. Toops?
District 1?
District 1? Yes?
District 2? District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
And District 7?
We are adjourned at